Lights, spirits, pom-poms, and 8 count sharper than a marching band's left turn. Welcome to another episode of Rhinestones Rants. My name is Alyssa Better, your host, and today we are looking at the sparkly, the sweaty, the competitive world of high school dance teams. Whether you are cheering from the bleachers or rhinestoning a costume at 2 a.m., this episode is for you. Today we are pulling back the curtain on high school dance teams, what they are, how they work, and most importantly, are there any politics, the perks, the power struggles, and why some kids that this is way more than a sport? It's really their identity. So today we have Lindsay in the house, mom of 2 incredible dancers. Their dance team, Valencia High School, just knocked it out of the park and won 2 grand national championships, both USA and WCE. So grab your coffee, wine, sit back, relax as we are spilling the tea. This episode is called Why Making the Team is Only the Beginning. So let's sashay into it. Welcome to Rhinestones and Rants, where the glitz of the dance world meets the real talk of industry and a dance mom who lived it every day. This podcast isn't just about perfect pirouettes and dazzling costumes. It's about the raw, unfiltered journey of raising dancers, navigating the competitive scene, and balancing the chaos of life beyond the studio. So grab your coffee or wine, adjust that messy bun, and join me and special guests for a little bit of rhinestone-covered realness. Click that like button below, subscribe, and let's get into it. So, Lindsay, welcome to Rhinestones and Rants. I'm so excited to have you in the studio. Just a little background for everybody that's listening. As part of my 8-part college series that I am rolling out, everybody pretty much knows that my daughter, Dancer, she's been homeschooled since she was in 5th grade. And as part of her being homeschooled, there was a lot of benefit to it because she was extremely busy. But one of the things that she really did miss out on was high school dance. It's such a topic all the time. High school dance team, and a lot of the kids that are serious dancers, they look so forward to the opportunity to, be part of a high school dance team. Like it's part of the win to like, this is what I'm doing. I actually finally, going into high school, all of the high school dances, all of the things that you could possibly happen in high school, but being on high school dance team is definitely an exciting rite of passage. That was the word I was looking for, rite of passage. So she didn't get to do that. And because of that, as well-versed as I am in so many different areas of dance, I'm not that well-versed when it comes to high school dance teams. So in calling up all of my dance mom friends and saying, hey, I have to touch on high school dance. It's such a big part of this journey for all of the kids, but I need help. And who can I go and talk to? So I called up one of my incredible friends and I said, hey, you've got to know who I can talk to about this. Now, she would have been perfect, but that's another story. But your name, Lindsay, kept coming up. Everybody was like, you have to talk to Lindsay. Lindsay has 2 incredible dancers. They've both gone through high school dance team. One of them is still going through it. I spoke to another friend. Lindsay's name came up again. So I was so excited to finally connect with you, and you have such an incredible story. So definitely welcome to Rhinestones and Rants again. And I think it's probably best to start with you just introducing yourself, like telling everybody that's listening just a little bit about yourself, your dance journey as a dance mom, and your 2 beautiful dancing children that you have, one going into college.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Alyssa, for inviting me. This is pretty awesome and special. I've never done anything like this, so it's a little nerve-wracking, but I am so excited to be here to share my journey, and hopefully I help dancers and parents along the way. Like you said, my name is Lindsay Merkovich. I am a dance mom. I have 2 daughters. My oldest is 18 years old, and she just graduated from high school, and she'll be going off to college at the end of this month.
Congratulations.
I know. And she'll be dancing in college, so I'm super excited about that. I also have a 16-year-old daughter, Gracie, that's going to be a junior in high school, and she'll be continuing her dance team journey in high school and also at her local studio. And being a dance mom has been the greatest joy of my life, to be honest with you. I grew up dancing my whole life, and
that's awesome.
When I went into high school, there was no dance team, but there was dance PE, which naturally I signed up for as a dancer. And when I started, it I started my own dance team actually in high school at Highland High School. And I actually had all of my dancers that I danced with at my studio come into my high school. They transferred in. And so I choreographed, I was the dancer, I was the captain, I was the coach, I was everything, all the above. And we ended up winning. And it was like the best memories of my life. And so I'm so excited that I get to have my girls got to experience the same journey. So, but yeah, I'm excited to be here and I can't wait to share my stories.
You have such a good background. I didn't even know that you grew up dancing, which is amazing. And I think that that's a story of a lot of parents. I mean, not every parent has a dance background. I had a gymnastics background, but I do think it's extra special that you had that opportunity. And now to be able to share it with not one kid, but two kids. And we know how expensive dance is. So I don't even want to get into having two girls go through dance because the one girl I could barely handle going through dance. I think it's probably also best that we talk about like, what is high school dance team? Because I think there's such misconceptions out there about what it is. I mean, every single time, I think some people think that, oh, they're in high school dance team. They go watch a football game and there's like little cheerleaders and there's a complete delineation between cheerleaders and dance team. So can you talk a little bit about like what that difference is, just in case anybody that's watching this is questioning what that is?
Right. So dance team for us, we do some some high schools do sideline. But for us at the high school that we go to, we do halftime shows. So we do the football games, we do basketball games, pep rallies. And, I think there is a pretty big difference between dancers and cheerleaders. It's almost like the analogy would be the difference between a soccer player and a football player. They're completely different. We are a very competitive team. And so, there's at least 6 dances that they have to learn that they compete, as to where cheer usually just has one competitive dance routine that they do. And obviously the biggest difference is cheerleaders, a lot of stunting. And cheering, getting the crowd riled up, where dance is just dance.
And how is it different from competitive dance? Because a lot of these kids that, are going into high school that want to go audition for high school dance teams, they're coming from studio dance. They're coming from backgrounds where they have been competing. Can you talk a little bit about what the difference is of that studio competitive dance versus going into high school competitive dance?
Yes, and that's a very good question. So I think it's my biggest thing. What I think the difference is as a dancer on high school dance team, it is you are a team first. Like that is instilled in all of their hearts and in their minds that dance team, you are a team member, not just socially.
So there's no I, it's we, right? So I think that's something that dancers need to really remember. Right. Like if you're part of like this I, my solo, it's all about me. It's not going to work for high school.
No, it does not. And especially timing. It's not, it's 5, 6, 7, 8, you end on 8. It's not and 1. It's very different. It is, you can't have your own timing. Timing is everything in dance team. You have to be exactly together. Your lines have to be formation and
which is good for some people that are coming out of competitive dance in their studio, because if they're doing group dances, they have learned that, synergy and that timing to work with other dancers. But there is, it is very different when you are moving into this high school competitive, and you are at a school that's highly, you just won. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think I mentioned that they just won a 2 Grand National Championships,
USA
right?
and WC National Grand Champions.
So exciting.
2 times,
that is not an easy feat. And for anybody watching that doesn't know, that those are the 2 largest competitive dance competitions that you can go to from a high school, and you're competing against high schools from all over. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But you're at a very competitive school.
Yes.
So, kids that are coming in, they know that. And specifically competition kids, they want to win. And most kids that are competitive dancers or just competitive anything, they want to win. So coming into Valencia, it's a big deal, right?
Right. Yes. And another really big thing that as a parent that I think is different is, I know this sounds silly, but the cheering. It is different. Like when we go to the competitions, the kids feed off of the parents' energy, and we are loud. It is cowbells. It is as loud as you can be.
Cowbells. And so sometimes we should have had cowbells for this episode.
So sometimes it's funny when you go to studio competitions, because my girls still compete at studio and in high school. So it is kind of fun when you go to studio competitions. I have to reel myself in. You can't be out there scream, because it's hard not to, because we're used to doing it. But the team and the parents, the camaraderie, the matching, the dads wore matching outfits. It's
Oh, I
really,
saw
it's so
some of
much
those
fun.
dads matching outfits. The costume. I'll have to see if I can find the picture of it. But I
Yes.
actually did see the dads all dressed up, and I love that team spirit.
Yes,
I mean,
it is. Yes.
it's there's nothing like it. I mean, I see all the Facebook posts about it. I mean, look, in studio dance too. Some of the studios get really full out competitive
Yes.
too. All matching jackets, all matching shirts. Dads, the same thing. But high school dance, unless you're part of it, you don't really know. But when you are part of it, it is next level how these
It
parents
really
go,
is.
which is
It
great.
really is. And it's so much fun. And the kids do really feed off of it. Sometimes the coach will text the parents like, hey, be louder. They really need the energy right now. So
Can you explain what is the difference between varsity and JV? I know some schools have a very clear delineation on varsity versus JV. Is there a delineation in your school, or can you just explain what the difference is? Because I know people ask that question a
yeah.
lot.
So for us, our high school is only varsity. We don't have a JV dance team.
Okay.
But there are many schools, many high schools that do have that. But so what that translates to, like in the competition world for like WCE and USA, they have two different categories.
Okay.
So at nationals they'll have a silver division and then they have a gold division. So the scoring's different. And then same with USA, they have, I think they call it championship, and I can't remember what the other, but there's different levels. So it's scoring. Obviously, the technical, scoring is much higher in the gold and championship division. And so when you do the regionals throughout the year, we'll do like 2 or 3 regionals of each circuit. And then we go to nationals. So in order to be able to go to nationals and compete in the gold or championship during the regional competitions, you have to score a certain amount to be able to compete at the higher level.
Excellent. And when these kids coming in, freshmen, make the team, and I'm not saying it takes place at Valencia, by the way, but I have heard this before. Do you find that there is possibly a hierarchy of, seniors or juniors that have been there for a while, have proven themselves, the coach knows that they can count on them? Do you have to kind of give, whether it's your dancer as a parent, the expectation like, hey, this is going to be a very humbling experience. Like, you're not necessarily, if you're in the front of your studio dance all the time, you're not coming in and don't expect to be, you're going to be front and center because you're all of a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't proven yourself yet. Yes, you've proven yourself to get on the team. But do you find that, you have 2 girls that have gone through it. Do you find that there's some type of a hierarchy that happens?
Well, I think it is definitely good for parents to talk to dancers just in general of, especially for dance team, that it's about your team. It's not about where you are. And it is interesting because when you, as a spectator watching from the audience, when you sit up high, because, dance is also different in high school because you're dancing on a gym floor and all your judges are high up and your audience is high up, as to where at studio, it's more at your level. So having said that, when you sit up top, you really do see everyone. You see everyone. So it doesn't really matter if you're in the front or if you're in the back, middle, back end. You really are seen no matter where you are in that dance. But yes, to answer your question, hierarchy, sure, I think to some degree, of course, everywhere. But then that doesn't say, though, also that there are some crazy, crazy talented freshmen and sophomores that come in and they earn their spots where they are.
You even see it like people who, I was just watching the making of the team for the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and they have to go and they have to audition every single year, similar to high school dance team. Even if you're an existing member of the team, you have to go and audition the following year as well. And I noticed, like, some of the people who have been there for a while, they get cut because a rookie came on and basically took the spot from them. And if you're performing at highest level consistently and you want the best team, you can't have the best team if you just rest on your laurels. Would you?
Because a lot of times the new freshmen coming in, wherever it be at, are training really hard at their studios for the most part. And then I think as you get older, maybe they don't train as much. But from my opinion, from what I've seen, that there has been a change in the high school dance world, where I feel like when my girls were younger and looking at the high school dancers at that time, they trained hard to make dance team. And then once they made dance team, they kind of backed off the studio training a little bit, because it is a lot. It is a lot doing both. But it has now transitioned to keep training at your studio. Like, absolutely.
And how did those, I know like the studios that we were at competing on teams, we had very like rehearsals all the time. And we had to, as a company member at our studio, we had to be at all of our classes and they took attendance. And if we weren't there, so how do you work it, or what is the best conversation for these incoming freshmen to have with their current studios in order to keep training?
Yes.
Do they have to give up competition dance? Do you find like, what does that look like?
So we're actually in the process of this right now where we usually have our high school dance schedule pretty early for, we usually get it in May or June. And so our manager at our dance studio, she has already emailed, she'll text me and say, hey, give me the dates of your competition. So we are so lucky to have our dance team and our studio. They work together to make sure, because, the high school coach wants us training they want us training at the studio. So they work together and we are very, very thankful for that. So I'll give our manager our high school list and she'll literally base our studio competitions off of the high school. So she'll make sure not to pick a convention or whatever the weekend that we're competing.
That's amazing.
So we're really very lucky about that. So, I give her football dates. I give her any
because
prom.
the studio that we were at, the last studio that we were at, there was a mom and her daughter, I think, went to Valencia as well. And she gave the studio the dates too. And at the end of it, it was so sad because her daughter was an incredible dancer and she could, like, they didn't work with her. It was really unfortunate.
And unfortunate.
And they didn't work with her. And, she had to choose like high school dance. And the mom was like so pissed off at the studio with very good reason.
Yes.
I got it. I love this mom and I loved her daughter. And it was kind of sad to me that, she's like, look, you haven't even picked your dances. And the studio owners are like, well, you're not going to tell us which one we're going to be able to go to. But I think it's such a disservice to the kids because if you have kids that want to train and that are good, it's like there's enough competitions out there to be able to work hand in hand.
Yes.
These kids have given their lives to dance. And again, it's just my opinion. I'm not looking for any hate on this, but I'm just saying that kids that are in high school that are trying to make it work, it really takes a village to help make it work. And people should be a little bit more sensitive to that, of what they're trying to accomplish.
I think that is a giant, it really is a big part of it, to find a studio that works with the high school and work together, because it is at that level now with these dancers that they are training very, very hard. And
you can tell the ones who are not training, right? The kids that go to high school and, they just do high school dance team, and you can tell immediately if they're not training with a studio or continuing their training, because it's sort of like use it or lose it, right? Yeah. And you do see that. Sometimes I watch like the competitions and I can tell immediately who's been out of the studio. You mentioned COVID before. A lot of the kids were out of the studio. Once you saw them go back to the studio and you looked at September, August, to like January, all of a sudden the bar went right up because they were back in. It's sort of like learning how to ride a bike, but you have to ride it to be able to go. So moving on, let's talk about the cost, because we all know how expensive regular dance is when we have studio dance, competition dance. Now we're adding in high school dance. Can you speak a little bit about the cost of what that looks like?
Yeah, it's a lot, as you can imagine. I have it.
You can give me approximate.
It's times two. So yeah, it's a lot. So between what we pay monthly for our studio and what we pay for our dance team, it's a lot. So every dance team is going to be different. And some are, some have boosters that vote on a budget. So it can,
just give me a range.
A range for, say, for example, for dance team, a range could be from, and it also depends when they start their payments. So say if it goes from starting in July to February.
Okay.
It could be anywhere from $300 to $500 a month for dance team, depending.
And what would that include? Again, every school is different. I'm prefacing that, but what would you say that includes on an average?
On average, like I said, it depends on how the booster votes and how how they want to put their budget together. So it could be, whatever dances that they have. They're all team dances. Coaching fees, because it's not, coaches aren't usually paid by the school, but that's always, again, that's all different. And then, whatever your studio cost is monthly, which could be anywhere, also probably the same to $300 to $500 also. So yeah. And then that's just usually including that price is usually all team stuff. And then there's sometimes separate things like the cost of your solo, the cost if you do small dances, that's separate.
The cost of your hotel
The
when
cost
you
of
go.
your hotel. There's a lot of other separate.
So for those of you that go in regular competition dance and you're listening to this, picture what it costs to like attend a Radix or to attend a Velocity for the weekend. You're taking your hotel and generally you're there Friday night and Saturday night, and the competition maybe Friday night and then all day Saturday, Sunday where you're doing classes and things like that. So you're paying for the hotel, you're paying for your dancers' food. Then of course they always want the swag, whatever the swag is, the sweatshirt, the t-shirt, the boxer shorts, the sweatpants, whatever. So then there's the swag, and some of those are like $75 a pop. So you're talking a couple of grand a weekend could actually cost, in addition to the fees that you're paying in the studio, and then this monthly fee that you're paying to be part of high school dance.
Yes.
And that fee, I have a friend and she was telling me like that fee will pay for the choreographers to be able to travel and for their hotel as well. And again, every school is different, but it doesn't cover every fee. You mentioned like the solos. Some competitions will allow you to do 2 solos. Now you're talking about choreography. You're talking about costumes. You're talking about, the fee to actually put that solo forth in it. So again, when you're parents, when you're thinking about high school dance for your kid, these are things you have to think about. Some parents say, okay, I'm cutting out studio dance. But on the contrary, the competition is getting so significant. And if your high school is one of those teams that's very competitive, you really can't cut out the training.
Well, and there are girls that I know of that still train at their studio, but they don't compete at the studio because of the time. So there's also a compromise of figuring out what best works for your dancer.
But you still have to pay for the training.
But you still have to pay for the training, yes.
Which could cost $400 to $600 a month, depending where you are.
And then another side note, too, is that a lot of times high school competitions are just one day and one very, 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 very long day. Like warning to parents, you're going to be there for 12 hours. And like for us, we want to watch every dance and cheer on everybody. But for nationals, it's a 3-day event. So you do stay at a hotel for nationals. And sometimes you'll have to stay at a hotel for the 1-day competition, regional competitions, if it's, a distance of driving. But for the most part, though, for high school, they're usually just for the regional competitions, it's just 1 day, but one very long day.
Very long day. Okay, so just, be prepared. And we're just talking about all of the different expenses that could possibly happen, which brings me to time commitment, right? This is a huge undertaking. And I think parents really need to, if you have a kid that's currently going into high school, or you're thinking, okay, I want to be part of dance team. Let's talk about the time commitment of this, because it's not just the commitment for being part of dance team. It's your regular studio dance. It's the competitions on the weekends. And then you have school. And I before you answer, I just want to say, like, my daughter, she did dancing and acting. So in 5th grade, her schedule was ridiculous. I mean, I turned to my husband one night and said, we're killing this kid, because what was happening was she would wake up in the morning, she would go to school, she would, we'd pick her up sometimes early. She'd have to leave an hour early. She'd be in Hollywood and she would be trying out for some audition for acting. And then right after that, we'd be rushing through rush hour, get her into dance by hopefully 4 o'clock. She'd be in a dance from 4 to 9 o'clock training. Then she would come home. I'd be feeding her food in the car. We would get home, then started the homework. And then she might have a script that she has to learn for another audition. So now it's midnight. She's practicing her script. She'd go to sleep, the poor kid, at like 1:32 in the morning. And guess what? She had to be up at 6 because now we had to get her coached by Zoom for the actual audition. And then she's back at school. So it just was not, for a 5th grader, it was not, the kid wasn't sleeping. It was awful. And I woke up, I said, what are we doing to her? So we ended up pulling her out so she could do school where it worked better for her hours. This is different. These kids are in school, high school. They have dance team, dance training, homework, high level, want to get into these good colleges to hopefully dance if that's what the lane that they want to continue. And you have 2 kids who are doing it flawlessly, like incredible grades. Like they're firing at every single level at the highest level possible. So for parents that don't really truly understand this time commitment, can you speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, so I remember when my girls were probably 3 and 5 at their first studio they went to, that the owner made mention of something that always stuck with me, that she said, my dancers are always amazing students, and they do usually go hand in hand. That dancers, they understand they understand time restrictions, they understand commitment, they understand being respectful, they understand how time management, they know how to do all these things, along with performing in front of everyone. So yeah, the time commitment's crazy. My girls leave at usually leave at 6:45 in the morning because they have dance team in the morning. We have block schedule at our high school, which means they have their classes every other day. So the days that they do have dance team, they go, leave 6:45 in the morning. They go to school until about 2:30, and then they usually go straight to dance. So they usually have to have their snacks packed, their water, their dance bag, for their studio packed in their car. They go straight to dance. And they're usually at their studio until 3:30 till sometimes 9:30 at night. Yeah. And so, and then Wednesday nights we have
and then
practice.
They come home and they have to do
and
homework.
they have to have homework. Yes.
And study for those big tests.
To be honest, I don't know how my kids do it. To be honest with you,
well, I bring it up because every parent, depending on who your child is, your kid.
Yes.
And if your kid needs a lot of time to study,
yes,
and time management isn't their thing, even with you helping them with time management, this might not be for them as much as they may want to do it. And in other cases, I know a parent, she told me this exact story. Her child was the worst at time management, was not doing well in school, but wanted to do dance team so badly and literally made a PowerPoint to their parents on how they were going to be able to manage this. And the parents are like, okay, we'll try it. If the grades start slipping, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ain't game over. So what happens in that scenario, that kid actually rose to the occasion because
mm-hmm.
they wanted it so badly. So It was a complete 360. But the point is, every kid is different, and you really don't necessarily know which lane your kid's going to be in. So I can't speak on behalf of all dancers, but I do think it's critical that people know this is like no BS. Like, this is hardcore. Like, you need to be extremely regimented. And if your kid does want to dance in college, you can't afford to get a bad grade.
You cannot. That's a whole other thing. Yes, their sophomore and junior year are the most important for their
that's
grades.
when they're looking at college.
Mm-hmm.
So, freshmen, you might be able to dip your toe in the pond to try this out. But if it's not happening, you need to pull, because as much as they may want to do it, they're not going to get into the school that they want, or the dance team that they want to make possibly in college, which we're going to do another episode on. But very, very important to know. So now we're not just talking about competition, in addition to everything else that these dancers are doing, there are these game day responsibilities, and those are very long days from what I understand. Can you comment on that a little bit?
Well, not so much for us, maybe for other high schools,
Mm-hmm.
but for us, our school only gives us a certain amount of football games that we can perform at for halftime. So it's usually only like 3 or 4 football games that we perform at halftime. And then same with basketball. We do basketball and then rallies. But for us, the sideline part of it is not a big commitment, but it's a lot of fun for the kids.
But it still is a commitment.
It is a commitment.
Right.
And they love us coming. They usually everyone's like, is dance team, are they performing tonight? Please tell me they're performing. Or, I know our basketball coach loves when we are able to perform at halftime.
Oh, that's so awesome. Like that makes me definitely happy. So now, does dance team, is it from, did you say like August or July, and then it goes through February? Is that generally, like, what is the dance team commitment?
All year round.
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about necessarily off season.
So, well, our auditions are usually in the beginning of May. If that answers, our auditions are in the beginning of May, but it really does go from May to May.
Okay, we're gonna pull it back a little bit. So you're graduating middle school and you're going into high school. And like we said before, there are kids that want to go and try out for high school dance team. And when we're talking now, I just want to make sure everybody's aware, we're not talking on behalf of all high schools all over the U.S. That's not what this is. This is more in your experience, right? And what we see on a lot of the schools, or where I have friends, or what your experience is. What should some of those kids be getting ready for, as far as like what is entailed in trying out for dance team in high school? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. So from my experience, at our high school, or at least in our area also, turns. Turns are huge. It is a massive part of being on dance team. And so definitely turns. showmanship, movement, work on your movement quality. Your showmanship is a big one too. But my biggest thing is absolutely be training for turns. That's my biggest
And it's also like
suggestion.
somebody had said when I was starting to research for this episode, high school dance team people, I think that aren't familiar with it, they think it's like the movie Bring It On if they've watched it, right? Like, oh, we do that. Like, it isn't Bring It On. There's a lot of technique that goes into this. There's a lot of sacrifice. Determination, competitive spirit, attitude, like all of these different things that come into play when you're auditioning. So what I'm hearing you say is that somebody coming into wanting to be part of high school dance should really be prepping in middle school or whenever
Yes.
on their turns and their technique. Is there anything besides turns that you think, like, whether is it jump splits, or like is there anything specific that they should else be really focusing on if they want to be part of it?
I mean, just training at your local studio or wherever you train is absolutely key. Whatever, ballet, like you're talking about, ballet technique, it's all part of judging all across the board, whether you're at a studio or in high school. It is absolutely just as technical. Anything that you're doing training for studio competitions is the same thing you should be training for high school. It's just another level. Like turning is a really big one. Like, and you'll stand out if you don't turn. Like that is my biggest suggestion, piece of advice is to really be working on training with turning, but still be doing all like your stretching, your leaps, your all that.
What does the audition look like though? Like when they go, is it a 1-day audition? Is
So-
it a week audition? Like what is it?
So ours is a 3-day. Generally, they're a 3-day audition clinic. So you have 2 days of learning like technique across the floor. The graduating captains come up with a dance routine. Usually do a jazz and a lyrical, and so they usually go home at night and practice, and then the audition will be on the 3rd day. And for us, we have outside judges that come and judge the auditions.
Is there, when people come on to a dance team, well, 1 second, before I even go there, in this 3-day audition that they do, after the 3 days, do they find out right then and there? Is it one of like this like Oscar winning, like open up the envelope? Is there a sheet that gets posted? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So I think every high school is different,
Of
but
course.
for us, it kind of depends on when our final day is with our graduating seniors. So it's usually like a week or two after. Hopefully we don't make people wait for too long because people are always anxious and excited to find out if they make dance team. But for us with social media, they'll post it, and then the coach and our advisor post it in their little app that they have.
Okay, and then the kids get to see it,
Yes.
right? Okay, so would you say that's generally a week or within 2 weeks of
I would say
trying
within
out?
a week for sure.
Okay, well then that's good to-
Ideally, I mean, my daughter's freshman year, we had to wait like 3 weeks. It was a long time to wait. And also another thing, I like talking about that for my daughter's freshman year when she was trying out. This is just something I want parents and dancers to know too, is that she was so nervous, right? Trying out. And she's the oldest of her group of friends. So she was the first to try out for dance team. And it was right after COVID. So the training wasn't really there as much. And so, so she was extremely nervous. And I just told her, like, whatever's meant to be is what's meant to be. Your plan B, if you don't make dance team, your plan B is to like focus even more at the studio. And that's
Of course.
great too. Like just not to have so much pressure. And then another thing is too, if you do audition and say if your name isn't on that list when they post it, and that's obviously devastating because I know kids work and train so hard for that. But to know that to train harder, like maybe ask what you can work on, and then work, train, and then try out again. For the next year, there's a lot of times that people will make it their second year if they put the work in.
And then you even said, and when we were talking about this episode, you even said that when they come back the second year, the coaches look at that as like even more admirable. Like you're a badass. You went and you did the work. Like you didn't make it and you didn't let that knock you down, and you went, did the work, and now you're all of a sudden here and like, boom, you made the team. So it's even that much more powerful when you go and do something like that. So I think that's excellent advice to be giving to people who might not have made it the first time. I mean, I remember being in, okay, so I really can't sing, but when I was in 5th grade, I really thought that I could sing. I was convinced that I was a singer. God help me now, like thinking about it. But there was Glee Club.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was going to go try out for Glee Club. And I loved the teacher that was running the Glee Club. And I went and I tried out. And I mean, I wasn't that bad. Well, maybe I was. I don't know. But bottom line is, I did not make Glee Club. And everybody else made it. And I remember, like, oh my God, the drama. I was so devastated that I didn't make it. And do you know that every day that they went to go practice for Glee Club, I went to the practices after school and I sat in the auditorium watching all my friends practice. And the teacher saw me doing that. And while I was doing it, I was also practicing. And they saw that. And then somebody got sick. And guess who was in Glee Club? It was me. So it's like, I just think it's like showing up
Mm-hmm.
and showing like the choreographers or the people who are running dance team, like you are dedicated to it and not letting something I say all the time, like my pillow says, never let anybody dull your sparkle. Just because you don't make it once doesn't mean that you can't make it again. So
Exactly.
great message. I appreciate that. So let's move on to drama. And, I keep this podcast in a positive light. I'm a positive person. I'm not looking to stir anything up, but I don't really care what you do for a living. There's drama everywhere. And, there's dance mom drama, there's dance drama. In order to be a winning team, and I've always said this to my daughter for, competitive, if that team doesn't fully get along or there's some kind of drama, it's impossible to perform at such a high level to be a champion,
Mm-hmm.
because that negativity breeds negative results. I mean, 9 out of 10 times you're going to see that. So with drama in high school dance, is it any different than studio dance? Like, what do you see, or what have you heard maybe from some of your friends that have that? And then when does the coach get involved in it? And what are some really good things that dancers should be thinking about when they're coming in and how to handle it, or vice versa?
Yeah. Well, I think what I've learned in high school, your kids are older. So a lot of it is parents let the kids figure it out on their own. If the kids aren't getting along, or somebody said this, hurt my feelings, leave it to the kids. It's usually a disservice if parents get involved in that. And they're getting older. You want to teach your kids, they're in high school, they have to learn how to speak up for themselves. But so my oldest daughter's freshman year, the team, it took me a while to figure out that there was somewhat drama within the team, but I didn't know. I was new to the team. I hate drama. I want nothing to do with it. And so it kind of took me a while to figure it out. And once I did, I was like, wow, okay. And it's the next year I ended up joining as a board member. And my goal, and I told our advisor, my goal is that everyone gets along. I don't want drama. I want us all to get along. And so I always try my best to think 10 steps ahead of anything. If I see something might be drama, or if I see something, but my biggest thing is consistency. Consistency with training for dancers, and consistency with programs, with their rules, their protocols, to stay consistent. And because sometimes if a rule's, applied one time and then not another time, is when kind of drama can happen. So I think as a program part, being consistent in your program.
I agree. And I see in studio dance when there is drama, I did an episode on this, like when is it the right time for a studio owner to get involved, and when is the right time for the kids to go work it out. But when you have a short period of time to actually get that group together, the bonding, the camaraderie, to go put that dance on stage to win, because
Yes.
that's why we do it, you need to make sure that they're to the best of your ability, to make sure that there is no drama
Right.
going on, and that's worked out 100%. Do you find that they work it out? Like, and I'm not saying just in Valencia, I'm talking overall, because we all have friends that do it. Do you find that they work it out, or do you find that like it's because the competitiveness has gotten such at a high level? Are you seeing or hearing that the drama is getting at a higher level?
I actually think it's the opposite from what I
Okay.
see. I actually think that there's a lot of respect from what I've seen with my girls. Actually, my oldest daughter yesterday had one of her I shouldn't say new best friends, but a best friend that she met, and she dances at a different high school. And they met during USA camp. And so when she came over yesterday, I thanked her for being such a good friend to Brooke, and that what a good example my daughter and her friend are to other young dancers on other teams, that they were usually neck and neck in solos. It was either one would win, the other would win. but they loved competing against each other. So I do
That makes
actually
me
think
so
it is.
happy to
I think it
hear.
is different. I think there's a respect now, and that's across the board. At least from what I've seen, that has changed. And you do want competition. Competition's boring if you go and there's no good teams there. That's not fun. I like the competition. I like when it gets
I
like
know. I
that,
love
you
when
know?
you're competing against like top talent, and I mean that's like
That makes it
that's the
so much more
grit. It's
fun.
the it I
You want to
100.
win off of like when there's tons of talent there. That's when it like matters.
That's when it feels like the hard work has paid off 1
Yes.
billion%. So what does off season look like as far as training? Like what should dancers be doing on that off season? I mean, some people like, okay, I'm going on a vacation. Like, no,
Mm-mm.
not when it comes to dance because there's never
Yeah,
like
it never ends.
it never ends. So what would be your advice based on, having two girls, seeing other people? What should people be doing during the off season?
Yeah, definitely keep training. Absolutely train, train, train. There's, obviously it is very important also for families to have their family vacations and their time to relax. I think that's also just as important, but absolutely to continue training and also to look at clinics because, say you do make high school dance team and you are going to want to dance in college. A lot of these colleges do summer clinics that you can go to also.
Amazing. And now talk to me like we talked about drama, we talked about what you should be doing in the off season, but now let's talk about something really important that comes up a lot: mental health,
Mhm.
right? A lot of these kids coming into high school trying out for teams, and then perhaps you're a returning sophomore or junior, and all of a sudden you get cut. Maybe it's for attitude, maybe it's for anything else, but how is it? What advice do you have for parents and how to deal with their dancer who might not have made it? And what's the best advice that they can give to their kid? And how do how does the schools really handle mental health? Because dance is a sport. I think it's becoming more of a recognized sport
Oh,
now. It
absolutely.
hasn't always been, but it is a sport. And mental health goes with it. And I see it happening a lot, whether it's kids that are in dance studios that are getting bullied or in high school, just the normal behavior. What are the schools doing to support mental health, in your opinion? And then what is really good advice to give to parents around mental health with their kids?
Yeah, no, it's a lot and it's a lot of pressure. For us, we are very fortunate. Our school, we have our advisor is one of the school counselors. So she is an absolute pivotal, like she is a huge part of our program. She is the absolute foundation of our program. So we are extremely fortunate that our girls have our advisor to go to if they ever need anything for their mental health or their mental well-being. And, for me, I tell my kids that I think if they have a day where they're overwhelmed too much stuff, I let them have a mental wellness day at home. Like that's a sick day. I let them have a mental break at home if they need it. So that's something I do in my house. I think it's actually something I think school should consider because there is a lot of pressure for kids these days. So having said that, and talking to your kids, I tell my girls all the time, like, this is your journey. It wasn't meant for you to be in that dance, and especially for dance team, because you have to audition, for us, we have 3 all team dances. Every year it changes, but this year we have a 3 all team dance. And then there's smaller dances that they audition for. So there's times, that my girls didn't make those dances. And they're devastated. They're sad because they want to represent their team. But then on the flip side, they understand that it's their team. They want to, that's who we have choreographers pick our dancers for their other dances. But yes, there's definitely times that my girls have been upset and sad and just because they want to represent, but they also understand that they want to, be cheering on the sidelines for their team, which they love doing that.
What do you think when you're going to compete against these other high schools? Obviously, we're on the West Coast. Valencia is a West Coast high school. But when you're competing against maybe Central or, back east, and you're competing against all of the high schools in the United States, do you notice a difference between like the rural high schools versus a California high school? Like I know I have friends who have kids who are on dance team on the East Coast, and I know it's very like Broadway kind of dance and very rhinestoney, and it just seems like it's a different flavor. Maybe not as much hip hop. People say, and I don't know if it's true, that there's a lot more hip hop choreographers here on the West Coast. But what do you specifically see when, you're going and competing against the other schools? Is there a really clear difference between what you're seeing performed?
Yes, for the most part, yes. One particular that stands out was for WC Nationals last year. There's a team from Texas, and they're amazing, but their palm was completely different than our palm. Our palm is like fast turns. It's crazy. It is absolutely amazing, and theirs was amazing too, but completely different. It was to a band music, so it was definitely very different. It was slower. It was clean, precise, but there was a lot, there was a ton of them. But so that definitely stands out that was different. And I know some places on the East Coast, their dance team are drill team. So sometimes they're called different things also
Can
at
you
high
explain?
schools.
Do you know what a drill team is specifically?
I think it's kind of, from my understanding, because
Okay,
there's a
right.
dancer that's going to be with Brooke in college, and her dance team was called a drill team, and she's from Colorado. So I'm pretty sure it's the same, like palm, so you look like cheerleaders. That's sometimes my dad gets confused because he'll be like,
A lot. I get confused by
are
it too
those
because I wasn't
cheerleaders?
right.
Yeah, no,
Correct.
exactly. So even like, I know we'll talk about college later, but even their spirit squad. So sometimes, that's what I was saying, sometimes they do both dance on sideline and during halftime performance. But go back to your question, also hip hop is very big out here too, actually. They are sometimes the highest scoring dance. Actually, they were the highest scoring dance, a hip hop dance at nationals. At
Incredible.
WC. I think the last 2 years, the highest scoring dance was hip hop.
And do you think it's because of more of the choreographers, the hip hop choreographers sit on the West Coast and where they don't focus as much, let's say in Central or on the East Coast? Or do you just think it's random that you just have good hip hop dancers on your team?
I think we just have, those schools in particular just focus on hip hop only.
Okay.
So, and they're absolutely amazing. Actually, I think one of the hip hop dances last year was choreographed by one of the dancers on the team.
Oh, amazing.
So, I think that actually the top, because we got the fourth highest scoring. So I think the top 3 were hip hop. And I have my thoughts on that, but I think because hip hop isn't as technical, so you can't
make you can't, because it's more of the movement. It's like you can't say that was a mistake or it wasn't a mistake. It's like
they're not
the
falling
body
out of their
moved.
quadruple turns.
Correct.
So I have my thoughts on that a little bit, but
Well,
they are amazing.
You also have 2 dancers who are really ballet technically trained dancers.
Yes.
So there is a difference, and I always laugh at
There
that
is a
because
difference.
parents who have kids who are technically trained dancers, even studio owners who really focus on ballet technique, they don't necessarily fully get, or they have their own opinions about hip hop because it isn't technically designed. Although I have spoken to like Guy Groove, for example, he is an incredible hip hopper, and he does, if you don't follow him, Guy Groove has like all these videos on Instagram, and he is actually a trained technical dancer. And I once had a conversation with him, Joelle was really young, and he was saying to me that the core of hip hop happens to be in the technique of ballet.
Mm-hmm.
And the hip hoppers you see who are so good, not all of them, but the ones that are really good, they actually were trained in ballet or some type of technical training that they had. And I was like, really? And I have a daughter who I had to catch her up in the technique area, but she, sassy jazz dancer, incredible hip hopper. She can hold her own with the ballerinas. She could, but her thing is more of the contemporary, the hip hop, all of those disciplines. So I do find that interesting, and I love the idea that hip hop is getting its moment out in the competition world, which is it's so refreshing to hear that. Because,
and oddly enough, being that my youngest, she is extremely technical, both my girls are, but watching her do hip hop is actually one of my favorite things. Like she's really good at it. And it's actually one of my favorite things, probably because I don't get to see it that often.
Correct.
So when I do see it, it's like my favorite.
Right. Because she has been trained. And like that goes along with what Guy Groove said, is that it is the foundation. So if you have a foundation of ballet, that's why I always say, if I only knew then what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
my kid would have been so in ballet. I mean, in addition to her studio dance, I would have had private ballet dance lessons going on all of the time, because that's where I had to catch her up. And I think that was just a mistake I made for no other reason than I just didn't know.
Right.
So ballet, ballet, ballet. I keep saying it in all the episodes, but your girls have that foundation, which is really phenomenal. And then the competitive landscape, like how do you decide, or how do these coaches, in your opinion, decide like which competitions to go to. And the two that you won, Grand National Champions, can you talk a little bit about the regionals and qualifying and then actually going to the nationals, like the grand slam of it, of how you won, like for people that don't really understand what are these camps and what they are all about?
Yeah, so we do WC and USA, and they're both great because they're both different. WC, and they both have like different scoring. So WCE, they have, like I talked about before, they have the gold and silver divisions. But to answer your question about which regionals we go to, that's all absolutely up to the coach. The coach looks, kind of sees what makes sense. There's usually some kind of strategy for some coaches sometimes of, you don't want to go where your biggest competition's going. You know, sometimes you want to like kind of think like, well, they usually go to this city, so we're going to go over here. So sometimes there is kind of...
is that more so they don't see your dances, or is that more because you want to save that competition for last?
I'm sure they all want to win grand, like, because each regional has a grand champion at the end for WC. So, you know, they want that. So, you know, sometimes high school coaches might not want to go where the top dogs could be going because they want to win. But it's usually up to it's up to the coaches what competitions and where they're going to be going. But there is a lot. So we haven't talked about the solo part yet because,
yeah, let's talk
about it is a team sport for sure. But you do have an option for the most part. Some high schools don't let freshmen do solos. It kind of depends, varies, I'm sure, on the high school. But for us, you have the option to do solo. So for WCE, you can do 2 solos, which that's an interesting topic usually sometimes if people, the thoughts of doing 2 solos. So my girls have always done 2 solos. And the reason is I like to be able to pick which one I want them to do. Because sometimes, so like at USA, they do have a certain style that they like. So it is, excuse me, it is good for them to have a choice.
That's so important to parents take note of that, because depending where you go, for example, there was a time Radix was very contemporary based.
Right.
If you weren't doing some kind of contemporary weird thing with your finger and just looking or making the movement with your head, like if you weren't doing that, it was like, forget it, you were not winning, right?
Yep.
And then it evolves, everything evolves.
Yes.
So reading the room or doing your research about these competitions, extremely important.
It is, and it is. And most of the time, too, a thing for parents to know that the solos are usually 2 minutes, like max, 2 minutes max, or there will be penalties on it. And like I said before, too, that they are on a basketball court. So the spacing is definitely different. Judges want you using the whole gym floor for the most part. And so, but at USA, at each regional, you can each high school can only bring 3 dancers. And then their nationals, they changed it this year. So it's a little different at USA. They limit their soloist. And for us, it's usually seniority, because especially for our seniors, it's their last year and it's special for them. So then if you have more than the amount, it's usually based off of who scored the highest to be able to compete their solos at USA.
So those are the basic differences between USA and WCE, like pretty much if people were interested in the difference for the solos, right? And then for the teams?
So the teams, so your goal is to be able, like our goal for sure is when we go to nationals, we want to be able to compete at the highest level, the gold and the champion. So when we go to the regionals, they give you the scores. And if you score high enough, then you get to go to, compete at the higher level. So there was a time, like our hip hop dance a few years ago, we were like, oh no, we hope it makes it into the championship, and it ended up going into championship. So we were able to compete at the high level. So there is strategy. I'm definitely not a professional in how all this works. But that's where the coaches and their expertise are in this. They know what they're doing with the scoring.
No, I appreciate that. And like, where would you say, because I get this question a lot, I did a whole episode on, the eye roll. So you're doing all this dance, like what's next? Like, I hate that question. Did literally a whole hour episode on what's next, like so many things that could be next. What do you think is next, like after dance team? I mean, I know we're going to do a whole episode on college and getting into college and why high school dance team becomes extremely important. But what else do you think that kids get out of being part of high school dance team?
They get so much out of it, in my opinion. They are really just well-rounded human beings at the end. I mean, I think that dance has been the greatest gift for my kids and for myself, because like I said, I grew up dancing. And it really has been the greatest gift. And it's a huge part of who my kids are. It's the foundation of who they are. And you can count on them. They're good people, good, hard workers. And I couldn't be more proud of them.
So we're starting to wrap up, but 2 questions I have for you is, what would be advice that you would give to an incoming dancer as a freshman? Advice maybe you would give to an outgoing senior, and advice you would give to a parent that is trying to go and navigate this whole world now into high school?
Yeah. Well, for all of the above, for freshmen, definitely, well, this is what I told my daughter, and I think it kind of follows over all 3, that the best is yet to come for sure, like what we talked about. But to trust the process, that's the biggest thing. I feel like it takes pressure off their shoulders when you know that the best, that just kind of trust the process. Trust that if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. If you didn't make a dance, that there's a reason why maybe you were meant to do something else. But definitely trusting the process is a big part of it. But yeah, never to give up, keep pushing. But then for parents too, oh goodness, this is all these things. Advice for parents. Enjoy every second, because it sure goes by real fast. And
I am crying just thinking of it because it's so sad.
It really, people say it goes by fast, and that's truly an understatement. It goes by so fast. I mean, I thought my daughter, my oldest, just was a freshman, and now she's going off to college. And just to don't use your energy on drama, use your energy on the fun stuff, make it fun. That's so much better for everybody. And because you just want to take it in. It goes by way too fast. And for our college students going off, they have the world ahead of them. They have done everything that they could to get to that part and to enjoy the ride of of college.
Right.
I told Brooke, my oldest, when she started, when she was doing dance team, when she was a freshman, she was already sad of it coming to an end. And I told her, I'm like, honey, you can't focus on this coming to an end your freshman year. Like, you have your best years to come. And it holds true.
It's only like the bridge, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of like all of these incredible things that they pick up, discipline, time management, teamwork, like spirit, like all of these incredible disciplines that they get through high school to get them to that point.
Yes.
That's like what helps them launch, right?
Yes.
That's part of the whole launch process.
And also a part of it too of getting upset, basically getting, falling down, dusting off your knees and keep charging forward. There's a lot of learning in that. I tell my girls that all the time, like, I know it's hard, but it's going to be worth it. It's all going to be worth it. And so now with my oldest daughter going off to college herself, I would say the same thing to her. The best years are to come, for sure. Best memories are to come.
And then last thoughts, if you only knew then what you know now, would any of this look different? And if so, what?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Would I do anything different? I wouldn't. There's not one. I wouldn't change any of this for anything. The memories that my girls had on dance team were the best memories that they will carry on forever. But I've thought about that. For this one, there is nothing I would change.
I love that.
If
That's
there's anything
fine.
that I would change, there's not, because all of it was learning along the way. Anything that happened, it was all learning experience, and that's how everybody grows, right? You have to make
right.
mistakes.
Without learning, there
things.
is no growth. So I completely agree. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. I really appreciate you being here. So in closing, whether your dancer is trying out next spring, you're still doing your fight song dance in your kitchen, just remember the high school dance team experience is unforgettable. And for better or for worse, to these dancers, be a sponge, not a show off. This is a we experience, not just you. And to the parents, talk to the seasoned dance team parents first and always get their real story. And to both parents and dancers, this isn't just a team, it's a culture, and a culture can truly make or break your experience. I want to thank my guest, Lindsay, for sharing her expertise and for looking forward to having her back into the studio, because when she comes back, we are going to do a deep dive into college dance teams. I hope everyone listening has enjoyed this episode and was able to just grab, even if it was just a little nugget. Please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, share the love, and until next time, keep shining bright. Never let anyone dull your sparkle. And thank you so much, everyone. See you next time.
Don't let anybody treat you like regular glue, because you're glitter glue. You sparkle. You shine. Get it, girl. Get it, friend.